Is virtue signaling a pastime for people unable to find something constructive to do? That sure seems to be the case when looking at the San Antonio, Texas City Council, which unanimously passed on May 7th a resolution showing how much they care. They've proclaimed that the use of the terms Wuhan coronavirus, Chinese virus, and the satirical Kung flu are so-called hate speech, showing that they don't care about facts, logic, common law, the difference between opinions and slander, and the difference between nationality and race, and that they certainly don't care about free speech. Hi everyone, I'm Gardner Goldsmith for MRC-TV. You know, progressive postmodernists found a powerful weapon in creation of the term hate speech. It's an amorphous, demonizing, malleable term that can be used against any opinion that the political orthodoxy doesn't like. It is, of course, Orwellian, a form of speech control that acts as a gateway to thought control, otherwise known as wrongthink in 1984, and as the fifth item on their May 7th City Council meeting, the San Antonio City Council crafted a long resolution broadcast on their tax-funded website and cable TV, and they called it a resolution affirming the city's commitment to the safety and well-being of all community members in combating hate speech. Of course, the very title begs the question of how so-called hate speech is defined, but they proceeded with the equally unfounded and impossible to know statistics.
Whereas since the outbreak of the COVID virus,
which, by the way, is not the correct title, there have been lots of COVID viruses,
more than 3,222,107 cases and more than 228,756 deaths have been confirmed worldwide as of April 30th, 2020, according to the Johns Hopkins University Coronavirus Resource Center, and according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, 1,005,147 cases and 57,505 deaths have been reported in the United States as of April 30th, 2020.
All of which could be fascinating and alarming, except none of it can be claimed to be correct. Apart from the fact that many of those statistics come from communist China, which is right over there, by the way.
Oh, hell no. No, he just playing, man.
And its government has been less than honest on that issue and many other issues.
Donald Trump don't trust China. China is asshole.
There's also the fact that for some, the test for COVID-19 only showed antibodies, and those antibody tests were often unreliable. And of course, there's the huge problem of the United States Government CARES Act possibly offering financial incentives to medical workers who mark patients as COVID-19 deaths when such a finding is inappropriate. Since the feds pay more to medical centers when they claim COVID-19 patients, and the instructions sent to workers tell them it's acceptable to mark people as COVID-19 victims, it's possible that the number of deaths has been overcounted, while, as noted by the New York Times, the number of infections has been undercounted in the United States. But that didn't stop the San Antonio gang from hyping hysteria and emotion. Adding this.
Whereas COVID-19 will not be stopped by political boundaries and was not created or caused by any race, nationality, or ethnicity, and the World Health Organization,
you can trust them,
has cautioned against using geographic descriptions that can fuel ethnic and racial discrimination.
Of course, there are many plausible arguments that the Wuhan version of SARS, called SARS-CoV-2, was created by the high-danger Chinese biolab in Wuhan. That's right, run by the Chinese government, after scientists there and earlier at other labs collected samples in the wild and increased the viral gain to function, i.e. increased its deadliness. In fact, Newsweek recently reported on the involvement of the U.S. National Institutes of Health and the use of U.S. tax money and the awareness of Dr. Anthony Fauci of the project going back to 2014 at least. And of course, the viral outbreak appears to have started in Wuhan, China. Calling it by a shorthand Wuhan coronavirus or Chinese virus has no tie to anything slanderous or libelous or false or prejudicial. In fact, Chinese is not racial. It's a nationality. Asian is race. Taiwan, for example, is populated mostly by Asian people, but they don't consider themselves part of Red China. And of course, this virus comes from China. It's from Wuhan. And that is how it's distinguished. Sort of like, the Spanish flu. But far be it for anyone to actually mention the source of the virus or possibly human involvement in its creation. That would be politically incorrect and hateful. Gee, it almost seems as if some politicians want to stop people from using specificity when discussing this issue. But anyway, they continued with this.
Whereas, as our history has shown, times of great fear, uncertainty, and unrest can lead to the demonization, blaming, and scapegoating of groups as the other.
About which one imagines she is implying the U.S. government arresting Japanese Americans and imprisoning them in camps during World War II. Gosh, that activity also included the closure of businesses, the punishment of folks when they hadn't committed any crimes or had even a day in court, the trampling of their rights and of the Bill of Rights in general. Why, that would never happen in the United States again, would it? We'd never see collectivists in government shut down people's businesses and prohibit people from being on the streets and gathering in public. Why, we'd never see people punished without trial or threatened because they want to be free. Well, the San Antonio City Council offered a bunch of claptrap then about equal treatment of people, which seems toweringly hypocritical coming from politicians who single out certain businesses they deem essential and can engage in peaceful transactions, and others deemed, of course, non-essential, which are forbidden from opening. But that's okay. It doesn't really matter because the politicians are social justice warriors, and words mean more than reality. They even went so far as to claim to pledge to support the inalienable rights of the people in our community. Well, given their actions, that's blindingly false. And it's shown once more that the politicians spouting loudly about hate speech run the risk of trampling even more rights because they don't have the faintest clue about free speech, common law, and slander. They don't understand that unlikable opinions are not supposed to be the purview of government. And of course, they don't recognize that unlikable opinions are supposed to be up to us in society to evaluate. According to ancient common law, only intentional lies in the form of slander or libel, lies that harm one's reputation or property, are to be allowed in government courts should the wronged individual claim a tortious harm. Racism, sexism, and other nasty, ugly, vicious things that people might say don't fall into that realm. But the San Antonio City Council doesn't understand any of that. They'd prefer to virtue signal. And of course, slowly contribute to the thickening Orwellian atmosphere of wrongthink that stifles freedom all around the world. Frankly, I'm going to go get some Italian food or some Chinese food and not worry about it. And I'll keep fighting for freedom. Thank you for fighting for freedom as well, everybody. Don't forget, if you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. Feel free to comment. I'll be in the comments section. I love to communicate with everybody. And please, if you're looking for some great MRC fashions, go to MRC-store. And don't forget, the entire team can be found at MRCTV.org. And please, share these videos with your friends, because as you know, sometimes this kind of message can get squashed by the big tech giants out there. For MRC TV, I'm Gardner Goldsmith.